I wanted to start off by saying two things. Number one, I love Duncan Trussell so very much, so much. I get so much joy from listening to him talk, especially about Buddhism and his practice. It just brings me so much joy. And whenever I'm in a moment where I'm like, you know what, I'd like to feel some joy, I often go to him and listen to some of his recordings. So thank you, Duncan. In addition to that, I want to say that me recording this, I don't know how good, all of the audio on my channel for for all of my videos and audios is like not great right now, and at some point it'll be updated, but I just want to say it's raining really hard at the moment, and so you might hear rain in the background or other things, so just keep that in mind. So I just wanted to just say that. Audio, I'm well aware the audio isn't great, but in addition to that, you might be hearing other sounds, including pouring rain. Okay, so what I wanted to do was just play this little bit of Duncan talking to his meditation teacher, and I just leave it at that. I just love listening in, so I wanted you to have the opportunity to listen in as well. Here it goes.
Why is that, at least initially, so difficult? I mean, to me, this really is like it's exhausting. I don't want to say it's exhausting, but it's just, when you hear all these, you hear the noble truths and all the cause of suffering is attachment and all that, and you hear it, and it's like, yeah, of course, I knew that all along. But then when you experience that clinging, even when you don't want to, it's really quite painful. Is that why the sadness? Why the heart of sadness?
Well, if you wanted to understand it better by contemplating it, you could say, what do you mean by sadness? What do you mean by that? What does that mean? Because there's other words you can connect to it, which is a sort of sense of connection, compassion, concern, love. All those words also are in there. And
right.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with all that? That's pretty good.
I love all those. Those are great. It's like there's different words for it. This is actually something in the last podcast I chatted about with the Emo, my friend, because I've been reading this book, The Myth of Sisyphus. Have you read this book by Camus?
Not for a long time.
Well, the discussion was Camus identifies this thing called absurdity, which is, which in the whole conversation Emo and I had was, is that dukkha? Is that is that the existentialist version of dukkha, that they've found it but through the Western aperture or something, and so they're calling it absurdity, a sense of not fitting in, not belonging. But then in a thread about Camus on Reddit, somebody was calling it the Big Sad. And I was wondering, that was the conversation, but I was wondering what you thought about that. Is that, do you think that in the, in the West, and you hear different versions of it, but this general sense of a kind of malaise, a modern malaise that sets upon a person where they don't really feel like they feel pointless or something, useless. Sure. Is that the same thing as the heart of sadness?
No. Because it's not debilitating in that way. It's energizing. It's an invitation. It's the warrior's sword. It's an opportunity. It's magnificent. It's profound.
Yeah.
So, the word schlep would never arise
right
in that space.
Right.
You don't schlep through the sadness. You would identify with it to the point where you're inseparable from it. It's a gateway. It's an opening. It's you see the difference. In terms of you're not adding an extra layer onto it. That is.
Yeah. Fun. Okay, yeah. Because it's the extra layer is just more of the story. You're talking about just the primordial itness of it. Is that what you mean?
Well, I'm thinking of I have quite a few Indian musician friends, and I love Indian music, and there was a great musician named Sultan Khan, who has passed away, very famous. I think he might have played with the Beatles at one point, but he is a classical, great Indian sarangi player. And two of his students were on my Dharma Moon record label, Falguni Shah and Gaurav Shah.
Wow.
And they took me to meet Sultan Khan, and he's their guru. So they touch his feet, and he adores them, they adore him, and he teaches them. And it's very strenuous. That tradition is very strenuous. And when he's playing, sometimes he plays the sarangi, which is a violin-like Indian instrument.
Yeah.
It has the sound of human voice.
Yeah.
So he can sing or play. It's like the same thing. It's very, very good.
Wow.
And then he hits a certain thing, and you go, ah. I mean, people are literally groaning out loud, including me.
Yeah.
Like, ah.
Yeah.
Because he's tapping it for all of us. He's taking all of our fingers and putting them on the clitoris of creation, and the heart of creation.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody's melting into it, and that's his job.
That's cool.
Yeah. And maybe he can do that all day long. I don't know. I mean, that's a great adept who can do that all day long, but he can do it when he's playing the sarangi, I'll tell you that. And it's not mistakable. So I think there's a possibility to experience that as a kind of very positive, desirable experience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
right?
Yes. I wouldn't in a million years, if there were a possibility to not have that, I would not in a million years trade it or take it out or remove it from, if it were even possible. But Trump, in Smiling at Fear, he does very accurately point out when it happens, when people start feeling that, a sense of, he says, the way he put it was, it feels as though your ego has been deflowered, is what he says. He says that, and the way he puts it is, and it's very strange, but I love it, he's so poetic. That's what I love about him, is his ability to just go into this beautiful, poetic, way of explaining things, and to the point where you don't even know he's done it until you're like, wait, what? Because it can be very analytical, and then suddenly he's saying, it's as though someone has placed a moon in your heart. Do you know what I'm talking about, David?
Mm-hmm.
And now you have a moon in your heart. And you have to deal with that now. You have to deal with there's this thing in your heart now that it's there. And you might want to shut it down, but it's too late. Because once you've felt it, that's it. And this thing, if you've been someone who's completely been up in their heads or in their identity or their ego, and then suddenly there's this other thing, which I do see what you mean by portal, there is a sense of no, wait, when did that happen? And why? It's too late now, but what happened? And I know I'm sorry if I seem a little clumsy talking about it, because my experience with it is still very limited, fleeting, and whenever I have the sense that it's not there, I want it back. I would only want that string played on my sarangi, touch the clitoris.
It is can totally correlate and sync up with what you're saying. And then I'm tempted to just sort of add another layer to the view, which is that it has a companion, which is called Suddenly Free from Fixed Mind, which is the sort of a blade of non-fabrication, that there's nothing to do about it, there's nothing to do with it, and it's only experienced very, very instantaneously. So the minute you start to kind of try to formalize it or stabilize your relationship to it or anything like that, the blade of suddenly free from fixed mind comes in and puts you in touch with even worse, with the genuine heart of sadness. They accentuate, they resonate each other, and it's sort of like absolute and relative bodhicitta, really, which we've talked about a bunch.
I don't think I've had that yet. I don't know. I got really frustrated. That was
You've never had suddenly free from fixed mind?
Well, I was doing that, 30-day meditation that we were working on, and I started having this like wild. It was wild. It was beautiful. I was going running up in the woods, listening to Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche's book on the Bodhisattva. You know what I'm talking about? Are you getting a call? I was. Friends, if you work with David long enough, he trains you so when he rings the bell, you stop talking. It was a really beautiful time in my life, and I was meditating out there. I was having this it was wild. It was so powerful. And then I was getting frustrated because I couldn't do it again. It was like something happened, sitting out in the forest, meditating. Something was happening. I mean, I know everyone says that. I know it's annoying. And it was so powerful. And then suddenly I lost it. I lost it. Not that it hasn't come back since, completely at unexpected times and flickering moments, but I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than it was just so frustrating. I don't know. Can you help me? What does it mean, or is it nothing? Is it just my mind, or maybe I didn't even, maybe nothing happened at all, and I just want something to have happened.
Maybe this and maybe that, but in terms of just, method and view, the idea that any particular state of mind could arise that is worth trying to create or attaching to it in a sort of full sense, the best gesture towards it is disowning it and letting it go.
Yeah, that's where I was.
That's the way I was taught. That's what I was taught, so I'm teaching it back in because I've tasted it. So in other words, one of the traps that I think many meditators get into is they think there's a state of meditation.
Yes.
That they're going to get to, and then that will be somehow better than whatever state they think they're in otherwise. And so a lot of energy goes into sort of manipulating the consciousness in particular ways.
Yes.
And I do believe that's the runway that the Buddha ran out of. Just there is no further manipulation going on. There's just a kind of resting in the arising and dissolving of phenomena and appreciating them. That's okay to feel the poignancy of it and all that. But there's no clinging. Allow a kind of open-ended quality to things to just be there. So at the end of the day, you're doing less and less manipulating as you go along.
See, that's where I was getting frustrated with you. Because
with me?
Yes, because I was having these
I wasn't even there.
No, I know, but I would talk to you about it, and that was basically what you were doing. You were saying is oh yeah, disown it. You had different ways of saying it, but every way that you were saying it was really either frustrating or enraging or confusing, because it was
Well, how about right now? Does it seem confusing?
No, right now it doesn't feel as confusing as it did then. But the disowning part, I guess because there's a lot of there's a lot of negative connotation wrapped up in disowning. It's a thing that a parent does to a child they don't love anymore. Yeah. And also, before maybe you clarify that word, this is something that, as I'm listening to Smiling at Fear, he's talking about, the breathing pattern, the exhalation, the moment before inhalation, disown that. And both of these, uses of the word in some way make sense, but can be really confusing. Maybe you could help clarify that.
Well, the gentle version of disown is letting go. And the reason he says disown is because people like you and me will make a big deal about a particular experience that they have during the practice and then get all twisted up into knots trying to reproduce it. That's,
sure.
Played a great solo. Like, let's say you're playing music, you play a great solo, and then you go, the band leader says, so take another one. And you go, oh, fuck. I don't have another one,
Yeah.
But I've seen players like Michael Brecker or somebody like that, no problemo. And that's because he disowned the last solo immediately.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. It's kind of like a fractal. Anything sweet. This is a problem I have. Anything sweet that's happening to me, including our friendship, pretty soon I'll be like, David's not immortal. What do you think? He's not going to be around forever. And with my, my son, he's going to grow up. I'm going to die. All this beauty, gone.
Yeah.
And then I can't. I want to be a person who can just be okay with that. But I'm not. I'd say it's enraging. It's. I think that's where my mind does connect with absurdity. It does connect with this is fucked up, man. Like, how can you have this potential for beauty in the world, and then also it's just gone in the blink of an eye sometimes?
Let's call it what it is. It's the ultimate mind fuck. What you're describing there. I mean, there is no bigger one than that. That you could experience this extreme bliss and exhilaration, and there's nothing in it to hold on to. So that is where I try to be very true to the Buddhist way of talking about it. Is a lot of people say, "Oh, Buddhism's so flat and dry. There's no bliss in it," but that's definitely not true. Particularly of any Buddhism, but also particularly of Vajrayana Buddhism.
Yeah,
you are supposed to taste the nectar, the bliss.
Yeah,
but you cannot hold on to it. So. That's what we call the union of bliss and emptiness. And I talk about it on Blue in the Face. And of the teachers who are out there, you could quote Mingyur Rinpoche, and, they talk about happiness and peace and, finding appreciation in life. To me, it's not one or the other. I'll just go on the record as saying I dig this perspective, and in some ways it's an ultimate perspective because it comes right out of what you were just saying. It's like, God, I'm going to have all these experiences, and then I'm going to die.
Yeah.
It's true. But I think it doesn't, it's the real thing you want to contemplate is impermanence more than just purely physical death. What does impermanence really mean?
Right.
And then against the backdrop of impermanence, how do you actually experience things in a way that's enriching and you could even say fulfilling, or enjoying.
Well, yeah, that's what I like. I mean, that's the problem. It's like, here I am out, I'm out in the forest with my kid. He's just having fun jumping in streams and seeing butterflies. You know what I mean? My mind is like, you're going to die and I will die. I can't cling to this moment. And, I obviously I'm not saying that. I'm just like, don't go there. You'll probably fall. Come over here. But still, it's happening there.